future voters, it's me, Uma, and welcome back to the channel. In today's interview, we have a candidate running for Florida, District 25 in the U.S. House. Daughter of two United States Air Force lieutenant colonels, she has lived and traveled all over the world. She has had a long career in marketing and made her foray into politics in 2017. Author of the book, Raven's Mantle, Fighting the Betrayal of America, we welcome Raven Harrison to Before the Ballot. Hello, Miss Harrison.
Hi, call me, please. Call me Raven.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for appearing on Before the Ballot.
I love this, and I thought the questions you sent me are really thought. I am very much looking forward to this.
One thing, let's just get started. One thing I always like to say is to know the politician, you gotta know the person. So I was just curious, when reading about you, you come from such a unique background. You've lived in so many different places. How did you grow up, and did that influence your political beliefs in any way?
Yes, I did. So I am the only daughter of two retired Air Force lieutenant colonels. That's an interesting dynamic because growing up in the 70s, and yes, I'm that old, it was just a very unique dynamic. My father flew in Vietnam, and then he retired a lawyer out of the Pentagon. My mother was a satellite defense engineer, and we had a tremendous amount of patriotism, testosterone, and competing schedules. I am also of Native American ancestry, so my mom was one of the first Native American women to be a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, and they retired lieutenant colonels in the Air Force. I was also an avid reader, so I graduated high school at 16 and went to college. So I spent years 16 to 18 pretending I wasn't smart and pretending I wasn't young, so I wasn't stuffed into a locker somewhere. It wasn't cool to be smart back then. It was a lot of peer pressure. And I feel like I just went on a fast course after college to try to make something. That's what we want to do, is make something of ourselves and carve out a niche in this world. And so a lot of it affected my overall opinion because I spent my entire childhood and adulthood in service to those who were in service to this country. So I've lived all over the world. I've lived in places that are dangerous. I've lived in places that were beautiful. I lived in places that were communist, places that were Muslim, places that were Jewish. And you get to understand other cultures and people, but nothing gives you a filter except being in those situations. And I feel like it's my greatest asset of coming in is having this worldly experience. I speak 3 languages. Wow. I have comprehensions in 5, and I have foreign policy experience. I have owned businesses. I used to be the CEO of 2 companies and a nonprofit. So now I'm here in this different walk, but yes, they all affect my political outtake. And then just having the dynamic of being unique, military raised, Native American, a woman, a businesswoman, a mother. I would argue that I have about as many perspectives on what you can have as anybody.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for their service. You know, it's so inspiring to hear that. I was just wondering, how'd you find your way to Florida through all of that?
Well, it's kind of a unique road. I'm deeply Christian, and I believe in God. I feel like I believed in God my whole life, but I understand as I get older how he works. The concept of patience, the concept of obedience. And so I wound up in Florida accidentally. I wound up here. I was here traveling. I was here for different conferences and different programs. I was a media personality for a while. And I used to come here often, and I found it very unique and entertaining. I'm not much of a beach gal in the sense that I don't really like the sand in my toes.
Neither am I.
But I like the water, and I like the atmosphere, and things just run a little different here. And it really is paradise. I mean, no kidding. In June, I questioned whether I want to change religions. It's so hot and ridiculous. But it's like a card here during the winter, and the people are incredible. The food is incredible. The opportunities to do things are incredible. So we started here, and then in the course of just being a mom and how our family evolves, we started spending a lot more time here, and we decided to rent a place here, and we had a primary residence in another state, Texas, but we were spending more and more time in Florida. So several years ago, we made the switch to make Florida our primary. We just didn't announce that because unfortunately the climate we live in, the scape we live in, makes my family a little less safe when people know where you are. So we usually let them know where we've been.
Yeah, that's amazing. I don't know. When you said by accident, I was like, wow, okay.
Well, we came of just, entertaining, but then we started going to Republican meetings here and started going to different events. And shortly after my daughter was assaulted in school, we started getting emails and flooded with parents and people who are saying, my child is struggling. Can you come to this? Can you help us with this? And the more time we started spending here, it became a more practical conversation with my husband and I, who is a pilot, of where are we going to be based? Where can we do the most good? Where can we have the most impact? And it was here, and we love it.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I read about that unfortunate incident, and I would like to say, I'm so sorry that happened to your family. For the viewers, could you just explain that a little more, like the catalyst that got you into politics in the first place?
Yes, and what I will tell the viewers and listeners is this was never a walk I intended. I expected, after having a pretty, I would say, chaotic upbringing. There was one year, the last year before I left for college, my parents were gone 320 days traveling in a single year. I used to get, this is how old I am, I used to get Post-its, put this in the mail this day, do this, we love you, Post-it, we love you, of just telling me how to manage a household.
Wow.
With both my parents. And I used to get a manila envelope that would have documents. They would tell me, if we don't come back, this is what you do. And it was terrifying. And it's an envelope to this day I've never opened. And thank you, God, for not having to. So I say that to say, when I became a mother, I wanted to give them what I didn't have, was a peaceful upbringing. I wanted to give them stability, a home, friends, and just having someone to do their homework with them, someone to come home to, some to care and invest in their dreams. That's what I was focused on. And this was taken from us. So my daughter, Patience, was 8 years old. My son was 6, so third and first grade, respectively. And we got a call 10 minutes before the end of school. It was, I believe, shortly into President Trump's first term. We voted, but we were not very political. Once we voted, it was like, we're hoping they just do a great job and let's go about living our life. And we got a call 10 minutes before the end of school. It was March, about 3/4 into the school year. And we got a call 10 minutes before the school day was out saying, please come, Patience is about to be expelled. And my mind was racing. I'm thinking to myself, I would have been at school in 5 minutes to pick her up. What could she have done that was so egregious that you would need to call me 10 minutes before? She would not tell me. She just told me it was not a medical emergency and that I needed to come right away. So I motioned to my husband and we ran over to the school and we found all the kids running, dispersing, and we saw her teacher. And I went up to her and I said, excuse me, what's going on? What's happening with Patience? And she said, well, she's in detention. And I said, for what? What did she do? Because initially my thought is, if we have a problem, let's fix it. There's a behavior problem. If there's an issue, we'll correct it. But she was very flippant, and she goes, well, she needs to think about her choices. And I said, okay, well, I'm done talking to you. I'll just go get her myself. And she goes, well, you can't go back there. And I said, why not? I dropped her off here this morning, and she started running to the office to head us off. And I looked at my husband, and I said, what is going on here? And we started heading back to the classroom. And when we got to the classroom, her best friend at the time, Sophie, was standing out front, terrified. And she's looking left and right nervously. And I said, hey, Sophie, I said, what's going on? And she goes, Miss Raven, they grabbed her by the neck. And then they, and I went, whoa. I said, Sophie, hang on for a second. I said, what are you talking about? Who grabbed who by the neck? And she was so incoherent and so traumatized, I couldn't get another coherent word out of her. And I said, Sophie, go home, honey. I'll tell your mom I'll call her later. And this sense of dread just infiltrated my soul. I felt like the Titanic, and we had just hit the iceberg, and we didn't know how bad it was, and I was right. So I opened the door, and my daughter was sitting in that classroom alone, hyperventilating, broken out in hives, crying hysterically, and clutching her chair like she thought she was going to fall off the floor. And it broke my heart into a million irrevocable pieces. I said, Patience, honey, what happened? And she came over and she grabbed me, and she was crying so hysterically she could not talk. I was afraid she was going to pass out. And I just switched from trying to gather what was happening from her to Mom. And I said, baby, you're safe. Mom is here. Whatever it is, you are safe, Niall. And we love you, and everything's okay. And my husband I said, Paul, just let her calm down. But I noticed the teacher, the principal, and the administrator had both come in through a side door. And why that was concerning to me was because normally you would say, I'm sorry, she fell off the jungle gyms. This happened and school, and try to explain to us why our child looked like this.
You get a reason.
But they didn't. They were staring at us in very folded, just looking, watching us, trying to get her under control. So the fast forward to that was I gave her to her father, and I said, you have 15 seconds to tell me why she looks like this before I level the place. And they said, well, we had an election in school today, and your daughter voted for Trump. And we thought she was kidding. We thought she was kidding. I said, what are you talking about? She's 8. She can't vote for anybody. And they said, hate to tell you, but she's the only one in school who voted for Trump. And if we can't correct this behavior, she is expelled. And I absolutely went nuclear. And I expected that the school would try to make this right, but they turned this into, well, we aren't going to tolerate racism. I said, what does racism have to do with the fact that you did this to my child? And at this time, I completely forgot that Sophie had said she had been assaulted. So we pulled her out of the school. We got home, and when she calmed down, she explained to me that her 5'10" teacher picked her up by the throat, had her feet dangling while she was dragged to detention, to write neatly in cursive 100 times, Hillary Clinton is the true president and Donald Trump is an asshole. And I could not believe it.
You said she was 8 at this time?
She was 8. She was 8 years old. And again, I took her to school every day. I did her homework every day. I had never heard of any of this social, emotional learning, woke, LGBTQ, whatever. I've never heard of any of that. I'm always a to each their own. You do you. I'm doing the best me I can. You do the best you can. But this obviously crossed every line there was to cross. My daughter was physically assaulted. She was emotionally traumatized. And as her mother, tasked with her protection, safety, and her happiness, I took this as a number one call to the front line that it was going to require more than my vote at the ballot box to save this country. There is a reason I was raised by warriors. There is a reason that I understand that the world is not always a neat, safe place that's easy. But if there's going to be change, I'm the one who's going to have to do it. So that's what got me into the political arena. And if I'm being 100% honest, it was very telling who reached out to us was when this first made national news. Our phone was ringing off the hook with people wanting a comment. What are you going to do? How is she? What is she? And it was both sides. Those who were responsible for doing this to our daughter were quick to try to change the narrative. And those who wanted to help us were quick to coming out and letting us know that we were not helpless and we were not powerless. And one of the first people to reach out to us was President Trump, to call and ask if she was okay. And one of the second was Charlie Kirk. And he spoke directly to patients, but asked me if I was ready to take my place in the movement. And I didn't know what he meant. What movement are you talking about? Because yesterday I was a normal mom, and today I'm not. So that's what kind of got us into it. But I feel like it's an honor to do what I was called to do, what I was quite frankly made to do.
Continuing this with the schools, you have very strong opinions on the education system, obviously.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit about what those opinions are, and how do you vision education in Florida as a whole?
Well, I feel on a whole, teachers are wonderful. I have the utmost respect for teachers because they do the hard work. Shaping the minds of children is an incredible responsibility. And so I wanted to preface what I say by saying many teachers are wonderful. Some are not. We got the worst of the worst. But what I am, if I'm not nothing else, is I'm very pragmatic. I'm very logical, and things follow a flow to me. And if we look at the education as a whole right now, is it better than when the government got involved? The government got involved in education under Jimmy Carter in the late 70s. That's when we first got a Department of Education. I'm a firm believer in limited government, and the government just do what you are tasked to do and do it well.
Yeah.
Instead of dappling your fingers in everything and doing it all badly. And I feel like this is the case. So my strong opinions had to do with the fact that if this was created in 79 to better education, to better opportunities, to support the fact that we are the strongest and greatest country in the world, then why doesn't our education system mirror that? Why are we now, we have lower education rates, we have failing test scores, we have a lower graduation rate and a low literacy rate. That is a trend. That is not an overnight. But this is what I look at it as. If this program was working, if the Department of Education was working, then it would be working, right? So that's what my opinion is it's not working. And what happened to my daughter is symptomatic of what's going on. It failed her and it failed parents. If your children are in high school and are barely literate, the system is failing. If your children are more concerned about their pronouns than their future, then it is failing. There are venues for that, but school is supposed to be about shaping the minds and making it ready to earn a living, to provide for a family, or not, and functioning in society. And there is no argument that we have gotten away from that. Okay, if your school has old books and new metal detectors, then there's a problem. There is a problem. So what I feel like has happened is we have got to stop playing the game of word salad. You can't fix what you don't acknowledge. And if we don't acknowledge there's a problem with the system, we can't fix it.
Yeah. Again, that sentence you just said about new metal detectors. Background. I go to a school where a lot of kids know firsthand the trauma of what happened at Marjory Stoneman Douglas. I live 10 miles away from Parkland.
Yes.
I spent 11 years in Connecticut before moving to Florida, and even then I lived 10 miles away from Sandy Hook. I was in preschool when it happened. So,
I'm so sorry.
thank you. School shootings have been a part of this generation's lives, you know. It's scary. We've grown up with guns being a huge threat to our safety, but I also know that you're a huge supporter of safety in schools. So what is your strategy to deal with the threat of school shootings?
And I thank you for that, because I know that wasn't easy for you to say.
Thank you.
Of going, just because we disagree doesn't mean that we're enemies. So I will answer your question in two parts. Telling you that I have been shot at. Okay, I have been in dangerous school situations. When we lived in Germany, there was a bomb threat called in to the school, and that was a very common thing. So what I will tell you is I will not delegitimize your feelings. But what I will tell you is, having lived in communism, having lived in schools that were not particularly safe, even on military bases, that the gun is not the problem. It is who operates the gun. It always has been. And it is an ideology. Okay? When the ideology believes that it is okay to take a life, that the end justifies the means, that, you know, I can take this life and it is okay because is the problem. So the reason it's not safe is because it's not having the guns, it's who operates the guns. And the reason I want to say that is because after being in a situation where I was unsafe at school, I have been shot at on 2 occasions. I was at the Las Vegas massacre that happened at that Harvest Festival. I was not there for the festival, I was there for something else, but I was caught up in it as well. And those are my nightmares to have. And when people ask me, well, how do you feel about guns? It doesn't change the fact that there was a madman who had that gun in his hands. So that's more of an ideology. I have several guns, and none of them has killed anybody. None of them has found their way into my children's hands. So what I tell people is, I insisted that my children go to a school that was protected by guns. And here's why. Because we use guns to protect jewelry stores, to protect banks, to protect crooked politicians who lobby against guns, but they are protected by the same guns they don't want you to have. And what I'm telling you is, the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. So what I would tell you is, we should protect vehemently what means most to us. And what means most to me are the lives of our children and young people. And why should they perceive less protection than inanimate objects, diamonds, jewelry? And so what I would say to you, for the ones who are concerned, and they should be, that's trauma you will never, ever be able to live down, but you will get through it. You will be stronger because of it. We have to change the mentality that feels that you have the right to take another person's life. And we have to make sure that the good guys have every resource they can to stop the bad guys. Telling people they can't have guns will not stop people from acquiring them. So if you outlaw guns, only outlaws will have guns. So my perspective on that is from somebody who has been through it. I have been through it, but I won't tell you how to carry your pain. What I will tell you is to make sure that, and most responsible gun owners know this, but who's at the hands of these shootings? Are these law-abiding members, gun owners, or are these children? Are these questionably mentally fit adults Again, we have a lot of discussions we have to have, but I respect the fact that everybody's going to grieve it differently. This is my perspective, but I want to tell your listeners and viewers who are traumatized by it, I want to hear what you have to say. This is my perspective, but if you feel like there is a better way, I'm just telling you my perspective comes from having lived in actual communism, not what the television tells you it is, not what they politically say to get people to write big checks. I'm talking about real communism, the real loss of freedom, the freedom that would not allow us to have this discussion right now because we would be deemed unworthy by someone. So that's what I tell them is I feel like the best way to secure our schools is to make sure only the good guys have the guns, to prevent anybody from harming children. They should be able to go to school like I did without having to worry about the threat of somebody flipping out and somebody deciding that your life isn't worth protecting. And I also want to say to that's why language matters. I was a dear friend of Charlie Kirk. He wasn't my best friend, but he was a friend. And what bothers me the most is that you have every right to disagree, but now people are calling him a fascist and a Nazi for his beliefs. Whether you agree with them or not, my parents and my husband fought for your right to say it. You can disagree with him, but you don't have the right to shoot him. You don't have the right to murder him in front of his family and do this. And when we put qualifiers on hate, that person's a Nazi, that person's a fascist, that person's a dictator, then we are opening the floodgates of people who would normally understand that you can't just go around shooting people you don't agree with. And they feel justified because we've put that qualifier on them. Oh, it's okay because he's a fascist. It's okay because he's a Nazi. It's never okay. And we will never be the society we want to be if we allow that to continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's awful. We need to find a way to remedy this.
But anyone in my district who feels that I don't understand, that I don't get it, and there's more that I need to hear, please reach out to me. I'm not only your representative, I'm your voice. So please allow me to make sure it accurately represents you.
Yeah, you're a voice for the people. If they have an opinion, they got to go to you.
Well, I'm even the voice of people who don't agree with me. But we can find some things we can agree on. Mm-hmm. You're never going to agree 100%.
Of course.
It's just not possible.
Another issue that I feel is being brought up in schools a lot around this time is religion. Roughly 34 to 48% of Gen Z identify as religiously unaffiliated. So in recent years, religion is making a resurgence in the American classroom. What's your recommendation for this? What are your thoughts about this?
I feel like going forward, change is life. But the founding fathers believed in God. Everything we enjoy today was rooted in a belief in God. Our faith, our liberties, and for people who don't know what I mean by that, I asked my children, where do laws come from? And after a moment of thought, my daughter said, the Bible? I said, correct. Now, this is not me telling people what to believe. I'm telling you what the founding fathers believed. They believed in this, and they structured a society after having been in one that was tyrannical. Once they left England, they came here, and they believed it so strongly that many of them died for it. I don't know how many of your listeners know the story. I know it from both because being Native American is a whole different set of lineage. My ancestors were already here. But for the ones that came in, of the 56 people who signed the Declaration, I don't know if many of your listeners know that they met a terrible fate. They paid a very high price for the freedom that they fought to give us. 12 of them had their homes burned to the ground. 17 of them had their wives kidnapped and executed and were bankrupted. 4 were captured and executed as traitors. Okay, they signed their death warrants for that. So I need people to understand that your founding fathers, not perfect men, but they risked what they're not asking you to risk to be free. And they got to live a very short time under the freedom they fought for and died for. In the military, Uma, I have to tell you, if you've ever been given that folded flag and had someone play taps, it is the cruelest thing you can do to somebody is to receive a folded flag of a military hero who has died, knowing that they gave up their right to go to barbecues, to watch their kids graduate, get married, so that you could be free. And it's a responsibility and a privilege and an honor. So what I would say is, I'm still fighting for your right. Many people are trying to find their way at this age, and they're tired of what they should do and how they should do it. I feel like having 2 children that are Gen Z, I'm Gen X, I understand that better than most, because we always say we're fighting for the next generation. Translation, we don't trust you to be able to make good decisions for yourself. We know better than you. That's exactly what they say in communism. We should have the guns. We should have the power because we know better than all of you what you need. And so what I would say to them is take your time and find it out. As a Christian, I will tell you, I've always been a Christian. I was baptized Catholic. I am now evangelical Christian because it evolves. I didn't feel like I was Catholic. And I felt like I believed in God, but I wasn't exactly sure where I wanted to go with it. And I put up with a lot from my parents, or you should come back to church. And I was like, I've never left church. I just feel like I have to find what works for me. And the one thing that I learned in all this, and it's very powerful, if you want to know who God is, ask him. He'll show you. He doesn't do parlor tricks, because people are like, well, if there's a God, make a lightning bolt. He doesn't do parlor tricks. Okay? But if you truly are seeking him, he'll show you. And that's what happened to me. So I tell people it's a respect of, I have Jewish people in my district, Muslim people in my district, some who don't know, gay, straight, have no idea. Love them all. Because that's my goal as a Christian, is to behave in a way that reflects that. My dad says to me that the goal for Christians is for people who aren't Christians to look at your life and wonder why they're not Christian. That's good enough for me. As far as I'm not going to be running down the district with a Bible, people in the head of going, this is the way. No, you know how the best of you to do you. But my campaign manager, who is out door knocking right now, is Braden Sorbo. And he is Gen Z. And he's the best voice. And people said, well, why would you choose him? He's young. He doesn't have any political experience. I chose him because how am I going to represent Gen Z if I don't really understand what the discussion is? If you want to be part of the discussion, you have to have a seat at the table.
I was wondering, to kind of round this discussion out, what advice would you give to Gen Z who have to deal with political conflict in schools?
That's actually a really good question. What I would tell, well, you know what, I'm talking directly to. So to your listeners, thank you, first of all, for this opportunity to introduce myself and share a little bit of myself with you. What I can tell you is life is not going to give you anything. It's going to be you smiling on the rocks one day and being smashed against them the next. But you're resilient and you have the ability to survive. We are not your enemy, but nobody can tell you how to walk this walk. My father says to me, if they haven't walked in your shoes, don't let them tell you how to tie your laces. And what I mean by that is that what I say on my campaign that I give to you now, I'm not asking to take our country back. Our country has been run into the ground by corrupt politicians, by grifters, and by people who don't really have anybody's best interest but their own. You're going to have that in life no matter what. You have a responsibility, and whether or not they value your voice, it is important. Use it. Understand that somebody is not going to do a barbecue this weekend. Somebody's not going to watch their child grow up. They gave you the fight. They gave you the purpose. And now it is your country to mold as you see fit, but only if you stand up, only if you jump into this fight, only if you come out and be part of the solution. One person can make a difference. Okay? Martin Luther King was one person. David in David and Goliath was one person. Okay? Gandhi was one person. Okay? So sometimes it just takes a catalyst, and courage is contagious. So when you're having those, stick to your beliefs. And it is okay to have everything figured out. It is okay not to have the answers to everything. And it is okay to be different. It is okay to be, so what I tell people is loyalty matters. Does it mean I agree with everything the president does? No. Do I agree with every viewpoint? No. But just like I don't agree with everything my husband says, I don't go out and tear him off in public and embarrass him and humiliate him. Publicly, we unite. Privately, we criticize if we need to. And he's been very willing to listen. He's been, President Trump, I mean, in terms to listen. But my role is not to be his clone, is to be the representative for this district. That's my role. So I would tell them, when you feel like you're having your ground challenge, stand it. Because again, if you waffle on it, then they'll pick on something else.
You know, what you said about, like, you know, being a woman, being a Native American, this is a huge primary season. And besides all of these qualifications, you know, you're a mixed race woman running for this position. Yes. What sets you apart from the 4 other Republican candidates besides, you know, these factors?
The obvious and not so obvious, what sets me apart is I am the only woman running in this race. I am the only one in this race who speaks multiple languages, as does my district. So if you look at it by the numbers, I am the only one who can communicate with the entire district. I speak French, I speak Spanish, I speak German, and I dabble in Portuguese and Russian. So enough that I won't eat tongue when I'm traveling abroad. That's important to me. So I tell people, but this is what it is. Now, so of the candidates, I have business experience. I have world experience. I'm the only one who's lived in Israel and around the world. Mm-hmm. I'm the only one who's lived in a communist country. Yeah. I'm the only one who has this kind of skin in the game with veterans and with parents. Yeah. Who has more skin in the game with the schools than a mother that daughter was assaulted in the school? Yeah. Who has more skin in the game with veterans than someone whose immediate family? That's my mother, father, and husband, who was a retired C-17 pilot. That's 72 years of active duty military experience in my immediate family. Wow. And so what I tell people is we have to play to win. Republicans have not been playing to win. We hear these stories about how we have to reach across. We have to compromise. We don't compromise with communists. The American people are sick of the career politician. I am the only candidate who also doesn't have $6 million stashed in an offshore account, preaching to you guys about affordability. Okay, so what I am is a non-politician. I am we the people. I am the we the people that the founders expected. They expected this to be a service. I spent my entire life in service to this country through my parents, my husband, and my children. And what I'm doing now is stepping up. So if they want to know, well, how do you win? For every war, there is a perfect tool, even spiritual wars. So where are my chess players, Gen Z? Does anybody out there play chess?
I do.
Okay. The king is the most powerful piece on the board, but the queen can move in any direction she wants.
Put that on a t-shirt.
And that's what we have to slay it. So the Democrats are running on women's rights. Are we really going to put up a middle-aged career politician and we're thinking we're going to win? That we have to play the game better than they play it. They're going in after women. They're going in after diversity. For them to tear me down, they have to tear their entire platform. We've raised the money. We have the endorsements. We're endorsed by Mike Lindell, General Flynn, Ann Vandersteel, Kevin Sorbo, some of the biggest names out there. We have the money, we have the message, and we have the ability to win. Everybody has passion. But if you don't have a way to win this, because we have to win the primary, but then we have to win the general, and then we have to go to the swamp. In DC, my parents were both stationed in the Pentagon. I lived in DC for 12 years, and I can tell you, if you don't know what you're doing, they're going to eat you for breakfast.
Yeah.
Well, how do you know you can do it, Raven? I told Pelosi I was going to put a breathalyzer on her podium to her face. So I know how the swamp works. The key is to not do a cannonball into it. Yeah. So that's what I would like your voters and Gen Z to know is I'm looking for the opportunity to earn your vote. I'm not asking you and telling you to vote for me. I'm asking for your trust, to trust me to demonstrate that I am a woman of my word.
Yeah.
And that I will get up there and show you a change in your representation. You will know from day one that you hired the right lady for the job. Mm-hmm. And I am the only one who can win this seat.
Yeah. Sadly, my generation is so turned off of politics, right? Because we're growing up in we're growing up in an environment where just fighting and yelling and all this like discord is the norm. So how do you aim to guide the next generation into a space where we can clearly communicate with each other?
What I think we're going to do is realize that your voice is powerful. So how do I encourage Gen Z? I give them a voice. I amplify theirs. So the way that I would like to do that is bring as many in. I want as many of your listeners, viewers, followers to come and be part of this. Not just knock doors and things. I'm talking about be part of how this looks. You would feel different about politics if you were part of it. Would it be better or worse? I don't know. But what I can tell you is my view is different. Now I realize that I'm in this fight, how important the voice is, because we don't have one. Mm-hmm. We don't have representation in Congress right now. Well, what does that matter? It matters because it affects your job prospects. It affects your ability to buy a house. Hey, Gen Z, you guys listening to me? Your ability to buy a house, your ability to afford your lifestyle, to travel, to do your passion is predicated on the people I'm trying to clear out. On the dry rot I am trying to clear out. Everything that they are doing at the Capitol and not doing affects you. Everything. And that's what I realized when my daughter was assaulted. All the bickering you see on Fox News, all the mean tweets and nothing actually happens. What happens is prices go up, opportunities go down, and we get mad and go, well, I'm going to go vote. We're past the go vote. We have to do more. Voting is important. But now that's what I realize. More is required. Mm-hmm. And once they see that they actually have a hand, that they can actually make change, that's when we see Gen Z come back to us with a fire you would not believe. We just have to awaken the fire. And the way we do that is give them a seat at the table.
Yeah.
When they get a chance to be a part of it, they will join. Because right now, I wouldn't want to watch people fight at the Capitol and then just wait and check the gas price billboard and see, it went up. I wonder if these are related. They're absolutely related. People who've been in office for decades are now running to solve problems by people who've been in office for decades. So they're running to police themselves. Okay, you know how that's going to end. We both do, right?
Yeah.
Let me look at my crystal ball. Oh, we're good. We're not guilty of anything. We checked. So what I'm doing is telling you is that seeing young people who are even interested enough to watch this podcast. Let's get part of the discussion. Come to my town halls. We have an event on Tuesday here in Boca Raton. Come and listen to the people and the vets who are coming on what our strategy is to win it. It might be exciting. It might be a confirmation that politics isn't for you, but at least you know. Information is power.
Yeah.
So what I would say is, when we are successful in this primary bid, I'm going to be looking for every single one of your listeners who wants to see a real change. I give you that promise. Come be part of it. So that's what I would tell them is the excitement should not be watching Gen X lie to you about why this is the way it is. Who wants to see that? But what I can tell you is, once we get our foot in the door, once we take control of the narrative, then it gets fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the ones listening who don't quite know what I'm talking about, when you have to peel the potatoes, that's stuff. But when the casserole comes out of the oven, now we're talking.
It's worth
Okay.
it.
So that's what I'm telling you, is this is the hard work we have to do. I'm not saying you'll ever love it, but you know what I love? I love not being helpless. I love not just having to listen and let these creeps, and most of them are creeps, okay, of telling me. I tell people, if I had $1, Uma, for every person in this environment who has hit on me, I wouldn't need to fundraise.
Yeah.
These people are ridiculous. I still fight this archaic mentality by the same people who claim, that they're fighting for this country.
Yeah.
But I'm not fighting for them. I'm fighting for my district, even the ones who disagree with me. And that's what I want you to know, is that you just need to give me a minute to get some of the layers peeled, but help me do it. We need you.
Get involved.
And so I'm not talking at you, I'm talking to you. Of just going, this is how we're going to change it. And I can't promise you it's going to be fluffy and bunnies instantly, but I can tell you, you're going to notice the shift when we get in the doors.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to have a party like you wouldn't imagine. And it's going to be at the Capitol, and we're going to start breaking down the doors, the ones you can see and the ones you can't.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like I've asked you enough questions for today. What questions do you have for me? As a member of Gen Z, what do you want to know about us?
I want to know, what do you feel is the path forward? How do you feel we begin to heal and make this better?
I believe that communication is the biggest strength anybody can have. In today's day and age with, ChatGPT, writing emails, I think it's such a good asset to be able to talk to someone, whether you agree with them or not, whether you like them or you hate them. We've got to talk. We need to.
Yes.
We need to sit down and actually have it. We've skirted around a lot of issues in recent years, and I think we need to start, fixing the way our country is run, the way our country is built. We need to fix social, political, economical issues by just, okay, what do the people want? What do the people need? How do we do this while helping them? I think we need to have, we all want the same thing, right?
Yes.
We're all living in the same world. We all hate that
Yes.
gas is $10 freaking a gallon. We all hate that going to Publix is super freaking expensive.
And I have new drivers.
Yeah, it's right, we all want the same thing. We just disagree on how to get there. So I think
Exactly.
we just need to talk about it. We need to learn, we can't, I made a video recently about how echo chambers are huge on social media.
Yes, they are.
You're just surrounded by people saying what you want to hear. And I think, to break that, you gotta talk to everybody. You have to hear different points of view, and you have to say, okay,
Correct.
there are some things I agree with you on. There are some things I don't agree with you on. That's how I think we
And you need to be able to say that without being
judgmental.
retaliated against.
Yeah. Okay.
We have to learn how to disagree again.
I hear you. I disagree with you. And I'm
Yes.
allowed to disagree.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. And that's okay. It's we need to, I think communication is one of the biggest things ever. And, to move forward, America needs to learn how to communicate again. That's what I think we can do.
And I'd like to also ask you, do you have hope for the future?
I do. I do. I think with hopefully, like, my generation is very big at recognizing issues and saying, this is not right. We can't do this. And we're like, right now we're teenagers, right? And they're like, oh, like, I'm 14, I'm 17, I'm like, what am I, like, I'm 16, what am I able to do? And when I started this platform, I realized I can do a lot. Like, I am able to do everything that an adult can do. Why is my age holding me back? It's just, I think... It's not. Like, whoa, come on. And it's just, I think that if we're able, again, to communicate, if we're able to work together and, you know, recognize these issues and start, you know, building something new, something better, I think the future will look very bright if we're able to lock in. And okay, to end every interview, I kind of like to have a little, like, quick fire. These questions are not meant to trick you.
Oh, quick fire.
Yeah,
okay.
just answer from your heart. These are silly little questions. Just let's end it on a light note. Okay, favorite superhero?
Batman.
Favorite book?
The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas.
Wow. Favorite show?
Ooh, that's a toss-up. Between Forensic Files and Hell's Kitchen.
Wow, those are good choices. I love Forensic Files. Favorite rainy day activity?
Watching it rain. I love it, but I'm a big splash the muddy puddles.
You know, lastly, what's your favorite thing about Florida?
I feel that my favorite thing about Florida is it really is paradise. The look of it, the cuisine, the influences from everything, and then a little undisclosed secret. I am a roller coaster fanatic. Okay?
Adrenaline junkie.
So I am the biggest, the tallest, and when I first realized when we came here that in Orlando we had all the biggies, SeaWorld,
Universal,
Disney, and I got my hands on Universal's Velocicoaster.
That one's a bit, I love that
The one you can see 20 miles from the park.
I rode that and I was like seeing spots. I was like, oh my gosh.
It was did you enjoy the negative G's upside down? I'm broken forever.
Oh my gosh,
I
thought I was gonna hit my head. Like I'm tall, so I was like, oh.
Well, what I was kind of funny is how it moved just like a Veloci you would think would move, but that nasty, gnarly hill is at the end.
I know.
I was waiting for it the whole time, and then at the end, you're just going, let's go faster to get up to this hill. But I tell people, for me, that is and we're only 2 hours away from it here in Boca. But just the fact that when people look at postcards, it's usually taken here. And yes, the humidity is horrific, but in the winter, it's amazing.
It's beautiful.
And in the summer, you just kind of get through it. But I tell people that Florida is an amazing paradise.
Yeah.
And not only that, they're ahead of the freedom. And we got to fight super hard because Florida has done amazing with lockdowns, with everything. Not perfect. A lot of work still to do. And a lot of hearts that still need healing.
Yeah.
But we're going to get it. But yes, where can you get all of that?
It
is literally, I wouldn't say Disney World because I don't want to give props to anyone, but it is literally amusement world for adults.
Yeah. You know, and with that, thank you so much for coming on today. I really enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay.
Truly grateful.
Have a great day. Bye.